What did ancient humans really eat every day? Not the clean, perfect paleo diet you see online. Not endless steaks beside a glowing campfire. Not some heroic menu of roasted mammoth meat and nothing else. Their real food was stranger, harder, and far more desperate. Some days, they may have feasted on fresh meat, warm fat, cracked bones, and rich marrow. Other days, they survived on bitter roots, wild seeds, insects, shellfish, mushrooms, fruit, or whatever the land allowed them to find. Every meal was a test against hunger, poison, predators, weather, and time. To understand what ancient humans ate, we must forget modern diets and enter a world before farms, before kitchens, before supermarkets, before breakfast, lunch, and dinner. A world where food was not a lifestyle. Food was survival. For a long time, the popular image of ancient humans has been simple. A group of muscular hunters return from the plains, dragging a giant animal behind them. A fire burns in the darkness. Meat roasts over the flames. Everyone eats like warriors. It is dramatic, cinematic, and easy to remember. But it is not the whole truth. The ancient human diet was not one single diet. It was not a fixed menu. It was not the same in Africa, Europe, Asia, forests, deserts, mountains, rivers, or frozen grasslands. It changed with the seasons, with the climate, with migration, with luck, and with danger. Ancient humans ate what they could find, catch, dig, crack, cook, carry, share, and survive on. Yes, meat mattered. It mattered deeply. Meat gave protein. Fat gave energy. Bone marrow was a treasure. A successful hunt could feed a group, strengthen bonds, and turn a dangerous day into a celebration. But hunting large animals was never easy. A wounded animal could kill. A chase could fail. A herd could move away. A spear could miss. Hunger did not wait politely for the hunters to succeed. So while the image of the ancient hunter is powerful, it hides another reality. Much of survival came from quieter knowledge. The knowledge of which roots were safe, which fruits were ripe, which insects could be eaten, which shells could be opened, which seeds could be crushed, which plants needed fire before they became food. This was not primitive guessing. This was memory passed through generations. The reason we often imagine ancient humans as heavy meat eaters is partly because bones survive better than plants. Animal bones can remain in caves and campsites for thousands of years. Stone tools leave marks on them. Cut marks tell us where meat was removed. Cracked bones reveal the search for marrow. These clues are dramatic and visible. But plants disappear more easily. Fruits rot. Leaves vanish. Roots decay. Seeds burn or scatter. For a long time, this made the ancient diet look more meat-heavy than it may really have been. Then scientists began finding smaller clues. Starch grains trapped on stone tools, plant remains in ancient dental plaque, traces of cooked roots, microscopic evidence of seeds and tubers, ancient waste preserved in dry caves. Suddenly, the story became more complex. Ancient humans were not simply meat eaters. They were not simply gatherers either. They were flexible omnivores. Their greatest weapon was not only the spear, it was adaptability. The real ancient diet was not a diet plan. It was a survival strategy. To understand the real ancient diet, we have to look beyond the dramatic moment of the hunt. The hunt was important, but it was only one part of a much larger world of food. Ancient humans lived inside landscapes filled with hidden calories. Some were obvious, like animals moving across open ground. Others were buried under soil, trapped inside shells, hanging from branches, crawling under bark, or sealed inside bones. Roots and tubers may have been among the quiet heroes of survival. They did not run away. They did not fight back. They could often be found again if a group knew the land well enough, but they were not simple food. Some were bitter, some were tough, some were poisonous, unless cooked. To eat them safely, ancient humans needed knowledge, patience, digging tools, fire, and memory. A root was not just a root, it was a lesson inherited from someone who had survived before. Then, there were bones. To modern eyes, a bone looks like waste after the meat is gone. To ancient humans, it was a locked container of energy. Inside long bones was marrow, rich and fatty. In harsh seasons, when lean meat alone was not enough, marrow could mean the difference between strength and weakness. That is why cracked bones appear again and again at ancient sites. They tell us that early humans were not wasteful. They understood that survival was hidden in details. Fat was even more precious than meat. A body can struggle if it eats too much lean protein without enough energy. Ancient hunters likely valued the fattest parts of animals: marrow, organs, brain, skin, and the rich tissues that modern people often ignore. A successful kill was not a steak dinner. It was a careful recovery of every useful part. But not all protein came from large animals. Smaller foods mattered too. Insects, larvae, eggs, birds, turtles, frogs, shellfish, and fish could all become part of the diet. Near rivers, lakes, and coastlines, food could be more reliable. A shellfish bed or shallow fishing place might feed people with less danger than chasing a large animal across open ground. Shells left behind in ancient sites are not just trash. They are evidence of human intelligence near water. And then came fire. Fire changed food into something new. It softened tough roots. It made meat easier to chew. It made some plants safer. It helped release more energy from food. Around fire, eating became more than feeding the body. It became gathering, sharing, watching, teaching, remembering. Before civilization had temples, farms, or cities, it had people sitting near flames, turning raw survival into human culture. A day of eating before civilization did not begin with a kitchen, a plate, or a planned meal. It began with listening. The sound of birds could mean fruit nearby. The silence of animals could mean a predator. The direction of wind could decide whether hunters followed a trail or lost it. The shape of the ground could reveal hidden roots. The movement of insects could lead to honey. Food was everywhere, but only for those who knew how to read the world. There was no fixed breakfast. If food remained from the night before, the group might eat pieces of roasted meat, a cracked bone with marrow, a handful of seeds, or roots softened in ash. If nothing remained, hunger traveled with them. Ancient humans had to accept uncertainty as part of daily life. Their bodies, minds, and communities were shaped by the rhythm of feast and shortage. During the day, survival became a shared mission. Some people might follow animal tracks across open land. Others might search near water for fish, shellfish, eggs, or edible plants. Others might dig for tubers or gather berries while watching carefully for snakes, insects, and dangerous animals. Children were not useless observers. They learned by touching, watching, carrying, tasting, and remembering. Older people were not weak burdens. They carried knowledge that could save lives, because knowing the right plant at the right season could be as important as throwing a spear. This is one of the most powerful truths about ancient food. It was not only about strength, it was about memory. A strong hunter could fail. A fast animal could escape. But a person who knew where roots grew after rain, where shellfish gathered at low tide, or which fruits appeared before the dry season held a different kind of power. Food knowledge was survival knowledge. By evening, the group might return with very different rewards. Maybe hunters came back with meat, and the camp filled with smoke, fat, and celebration. Maybe gatherers brought roots, nuts, mushrooms, fruit, or insects. Maybe someone found eggs. Maybe someone carried fish from a shallow stream. Or maybe the day was poor, and the meal was small. Around the fire, food became more than calories. It became sharing. It became teaching. It became comfort after fear. A child eating softened root beside an elder was also learning the map of life. A hunter passing marrow to another person was strengthening trust. Long before money, writing, or law, food created obligation, memory, and community. Ancient humans did not simply eat to live. They learned to live together because eating alone was rarely enough. The story of ancient food is really the story of how humans became human. Long before writing, farming, kings, temples, roads, and cities, there was hunger. Hunger pushed our ancestors to move farther, think harder, cooperate more deeply, and remember the land with extraordinary precision. Every edible root, every animal track, every shell bed, every fruiting tree, every hidden nest, and every safe water source became part of a living map carried inside the minds of the group. Food-shaped tools. A sharp stone was not just a weapon. It was a way to cut meat, scrape hides, open bones, prepare plants, and turn the raw world into something usable. A digging stick was not simple wood. It was access to buried calories. A pounding stone was not just a rock. It could crush seeds, break shells, and open bones full of marrow. Each tool tells us that ancient humans were not merely surviving by strength. They were surviving by solving problems. Food also shaped the human body and mind. Cooking made some foods softer, safer, and easier to digest. Sharing food helped protect children, elders, injured hunters, and mothers caring for infants. In a world where one person could fail alone, a group could survive together. The meal around the fire was not only a moment of eating, it was a moment of trust. Imagine that scene. Darkness outside the circle of light. Predators somewhere beyond the flames. Children watching the hands of adults. Meat smoking slowly. Roots softening in hot ash. Bones cracking open. Stories passing from one generation to the next. Someone remembers where the herds crossed last season. Someone teaches which plant must never be eaten raw. Someone gives a child the softest piece. In that circle, survival becomes culture. This is why the question, what did ancient humans eat every day, has no simple answer. They ate meat when they could. They ate roots when they had to. They ate fish near water, shellfish near the sea, fruit in season, insects when available, marrow when bones could be cracked, and plants when knowledge made them safe. Their diet was not clean, romantic, or perfect. It was unstable, intelligent, and deeply human. The greatest lesson is not that ancient humans ate one special food. It is that they adapted. They survived because they were flexible. They learned because they had to. They shared because hunger was too dangerous to face alone. Before civilization began with farming, it began with fire, memory, hunger, and a small group of humans passing food from hand to hand in the dark.